Hey all, welcome to Questions for Reflections. This is episode number 8, I believe. I hope. Again, we are piggybacking off of the eclipse and how these outer planets, which are so important right now, are all playing a part. I did hear the other day, I love eclipse time frame. Now, there are some people that do not. It is really hard for them. So I don't know, look at your own life experience and see, maybe you don't feel it at all. I do know some people like that, but I feel it. I feel a difference. I feel a change. I can feel a tingly atmosphere right now and just an exciting, like, oh, I get to go back into that space again because it's here. This is the day of the eclipse that it's happening, that I'm filming. So call to action. If you are having any of these experiences, you will get a $5 credit. If you send in a video saying that you just an experience and that you are okay if I put your experience of you filming yourself about any of the planets or the experiences on social media. Again, my email, Susan@astrologyandsoul.com. $5 credit. Okay. Today we're going to talk about Uranus because on the 19th of September, the sun trines Uranus. So if you need an explanation about why that's important, go back to my last video where we talked about how the sun was going to be hitting all 3 of the outer planets. In this video, we're just going to go over Uranus. So we're going to go over a lot of the planets feeling what it feels like, what it represents. So try to teach you how to identify them. Like, what is this feeling? And then bring them into your life. Like, where do you think they've played out, or have they, or can you even see it? So where it's played out is going to be a house. That's what it's called in astrology, and houses are all different. They're assigned topics of life, right? So then we're gonna I'm going to teach you more so how to Google and think like, well, what's maybe the archetype? And to me, the archetype are the zodiac signs. So I want you to take some time to really stop and think about these and then take some notes and jot it down. So that's what we're going to go over. And we're going over all that with Uranus today. Name some life situations or characteristics that you feel like are changing within yourself where you are experimenting like a mad scientist playing around in a laboratory. All right, that is the question, because speaks to Uranus. Uranus is countercultural. He is rebellious. Everyone hates that word. They're like, I'm not a rebel. I have Uranus in my first house. So I'm like, that's right. I live it. He brings shocking twists and turns of fate that are like either good or bad. It's like not just one or the other. People tend to get scared of Uranus, but it's just one or the other. Wherever you have Uranus in your chart, you want to be different. You do not want to be the same as everyone else. So, does this come out for you socially or in other ways? Like, mine is in my first house. It's very much just a part of me and definitely comes out socially. But if it was in, say, I'm trying to think of a good house, a third house, maybe you would have like these shocking twists and turns as you're going through your normal routine, grocery shopping, whatever. Third house is like getting to the errands. Sixth house is the errands, but it is the people you come in contact with. So when you're going through your daily routine, you would have just weird things than most people, right? Or yeah. So one of the first ways you're going to be able to identify this is it like just a part of me and my personality? Because that will give you a clue. It could be a fifth house. It could be a first house. Um, could be where by your son. Like there's a lots of things you could look at there. Or is it like more in different situations? Like second house would be money, just up and down all over these twists and turns with the money or the things that you value or possess in your life. So Uranus is a very individualistic energy. So again, like it second house thing, you could own, because it's your possessions, some really unusual things, some things that make you stand out, or you might want your decor to be very different and thought-provoking when people walk in. You would want to be known, that's fourth house as well, right? But you would want to be known as like different in those areas. This is a place where you will break with conventions because you feel like you see a truth, which you may or may not, right? But you see a truth that you feel like you want to share with the world. So it is very individualistic. It is very, right, kind of rebellious, countercultural. Another great word for Uranus is authenticity. So you're like, hey, I got to be authentic here. I don't want to be the same as everyone else. You don't really feel like you have to listen to other people wherever it is in your chart. And so again, I'm going to go to first house with me, because if you know me in astrology, I'm always like, well, I'm experimenting with this, or well, that's what I was told. So experimenting is a Uranus word. So yeah, that's what I was told. The jury's still out because I'm going to go find the truth for me. Now that's still coming from my perception of my chart, but I'm going to go find that truth. I'm just not taking what anyone tells me or teaches me about astrology to heart until I see it or find it in practice. And I always have a ton of questions. Ask my astrology group. I'm always like, well, did you hear this? Or I was researching that, you know, all those type of things. So that would be a first house. So it is like I just explained, it's like a mad scientist playing around in the lab, blowing things up, blowing things up. I always say to people, you're going to blow things up. You are going to blow things up a few times before you actually figure it out. That's okay. It's just trying to get you to be an authentic human being. And wherever it is for you, it's just bringing in those differences. Yeah. So as far as archetypes, you would have to, so I'm going to tell you right now, how are you going to find it out? Well, I want you to sit down and really think, geez, where do I do this? Where do I do this? You know, like 10th house, shocking twists and turns in career or life purpose or how you're seeing. Does that happen for you? 7th house, very countercultural in how you want to do relationships and marriages, right? So think like, where do I do that? And then how do I do that would be the sign. So you don't even need to know your chart, and there are no wrong answers because it's your life. And we don't know how all the different things connect in your chart. So how, like a good, from the time I was just a little girl, if anyone, mine is in Libra, right? So that is other people. So if anyone talks about other people or is kind of like, you know, judging, or I will instantly want to stick up for them or say something good for them. Now, don't get me wrong, I do talk my shit on people. I do. But it's like this instinct I've had since I was a little girl, because Libra is about others. It's about people. So others are saying things to me, and I'm sticking up for the others they're talking about because I'm being counter to what they're saying. I remember my parents, as a very small girl, just being like, "We know, Susan, we know. You always have to jump on the other side," which is something I do as well. Um, so how do you do that? That will give you a clue. Start Googling zodiac signs, start Googling zodiac houses. AI it, who knows? Ask AI if it knows. If you know your birth time, place, and birth date, time and place, do whatever you can. But what I would say first is just really sit down and think about it before you take that step. Okay, we're going to do videos on Pluto and Neptune next to try to help you really get a feel for that. So again, the question for reflection for this video is, name some life situations or characteristics within yourself where you are experimenting like a mad scientist playing around in a laboratory. Now, remember, Uranus is in Taurus right now, but it's also in your chart. So if you find the Taurus part of your chart, you're going to be changing stuff there as well. And it's always going to be related back to the Uranus in your chart where it sits. And I'm also going to say it does have an affinity with Aquarius. That's a modern ruler. So there are the traditional rulers. So the traditional ruler of Aquarius is Saturn. The modern ruler is Uranus. So it is going to speak to that house for you as well, if you know the house Aquarius rules. If you don't know this verbiage, throw it out the window. Take some of my classes. I'll teach you. Wouldn't that be so fun? Okay, bye-bye.